How's it going, guys? Once again, it's me, Al, coming at you with another video for week 1 on Draftkings. Yes, it's early. It's still a couple of weeks until the NFL kicks off for week 1. We're going to take a look at the wide receivers this week. If you haven't checked out the quarterback and the running back videos that I've done on this YouTube channel, please go check those out. And while you're at it, give this video a like, drop a subscribe, and make sure you ring the notifications bell so that you can realize and know immediately as soon as I post new content to the YouTube page. Thank you very much for all the support recently. You guys have been outstanding. We're approaching 5,000 subscribers. I just started this YouTube page last year. It kind of lays dormant during the offseason for NFL, so you guys have really helped me kick off this season in a great way. So thank you very much. Give yourselves a round of applause. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for being here. And the comments have been outstanding. You guys are being very positive. You guys are giving great, asking great questions, and then making good comments, things that I might miss. You know, a player that I might have missed in the, in the video. Leave me a comment down below if there's something that you liked, something that you disliked, or, something you think that I might have missed. So let's get right to the DraftKings wide receivers page. As always, I'm looking at the Millie Maker here. $5 million for week 1, $1 million to first place. Pretty much, I can't think of a better deal than trying to win $1 million playing fantasy football. So we're going to get after it. The chat here on Twitch is going to try and keep up as I go through all these players. I'm going to go through a tiered look, looking at all these different guys and where they lay and where they're at for week 1. Pricing, somewhat of a matchup thing, but things are going to change by the time week 1 gets here, right? Somebody might get injured. A quarterback might get hurt. If I like Antonio Brown, let's say, right? Antonio Brown getting all these videos put out on social right now, just beating up cornerbacks in Steelers camp. He is obviously the man. He is probably projected on no matter what site you use for your projections, or if you do your own. Antonio Brown on raw projection is probably your number 1 receiver for week 1. But Big Ben left practice yesterday. If he's not ready to go in week 1, I want no part of Antonio Brown. I know that he can do things with their backup, but his projections go way down with Roethlisberger off the field. So he is the prime candidate for things can change, and we are all in a wait-and-see mode for every single wide receiver. I'm going to speak about things as though everything is the way that it is right now. It's August 15th when I'm recording this. So as of right now, I'm going to expect that Roethlisberger is going to be there for week 1. 24.6 fantasy points per game last year. We see what he can do. The column that I look at the most for wide receivers, I want opportunity. So number 1, I want to look at the targets column. You guys know this if you watch my videos before. If you follow me on Twitch and have been here for all the live streams, you know that I want volume more than anything. I want to stack up as many possible targets as I can get. Antonio Brown, probably your easiest path to double-digit targets, although he's going to cost you as the highest salaried player on the board at wide receiver for $8,600. 18 against Baltimore, 16 against Cincinnati, 12, 13, 7 against Indy. I remember that too, because Indy was giving up massive points to wide receivers at that point in the season. It was a big fail if you played him at 9,500 that week last year. But coming up against Cleveland, obviously going to be an improved defense this year from last, but still not up to par. Nobody is to really contain Antonio Brown. He's going to get his. He's going to eat. That's all there is to it. You have to figure out, can I afford him? Now, with the prices of the running backs, there's a lot of value at running back. So I do think that going with a low to mid-priced running back core of 2 or 3 running backs is going to allow you to pay up for at least 1, maybe 2 wide receivers. So Antonio Brown should be and must be on your radar for week 1. Hopkins going to get a lot of work, but if you look at the splits for D-Hop, when Fuller is active, his target percentage, his market share goes down. His overall targets per game goes down in those games when Will Fuller is active. We assume that he's going to be. That doesn't mean that Hopkins is a bad play. It just means that I prefer Antonio Brown to D-Hop in week 1, even though that is the highest expected output game in terms of scoring. It's got the highest total on the week early. It doesn't mean that it's going to end that way, but there should be a ton of offense in this game. D-Hop is in play for me, probably more in tournaments than cash. If I'm going to pay up 83 or 8,600, I'm going to just pay the extra 300 to get to Antonio Brown. The guy that I want the most, the 2 guys I want the most, are right in here. 78 and 7,500. I probably rank Keenan Allen above Michael Thomas, but I think Thomas is right there with him at 7,800. Michael Thomas was one of the players who was on the wrong side of variance last year. If you look at how much volume he got every single week, and then how many end zone targets he had and how many red zone looks he had, but how many touchdowns he ended up with. Only 7. Big touchdown droughts through a lot of these weeks. Always a touchdown threat, in my opinion. Always a guy who can get you 8 to 12 targets in any game. The primary wide receiver with a big drop-off to the next pass catcher on that team, and no Mark Ingram on the field for week 1. Michael Thomas is somebody who's going to be a big focal point of a lot of different teams in cash, and I think that you need to make him a cash and a tournament option. But Keenan Allen against Kansas City, a great step back for the Kansas City defense. And I think Keenan Allen's going to be a staple for a lot of people. Oh, they already wiped his game log? Lovely. Dude is a monster. Without Hunter Henry, he should see an uptick in his red zone looks. I think that somebody like, and we'll get to them in a little bit when we get lower on the salary sheet, Terrell the Gazelle Williams and Mike Williams are also going to be fine in this game. We don't know which one. We're going to have to monitor who is getting more snaps with the first team offense through preseason when it comes to Williams or Williams for the Chargers. I don't know which one it's going to be. If I had to say right now, I would guess it's going to be Terrell Williams, with Mike Williams seeing a little bit more red zone usage, or a lot more than he saw last year, especially with Hunter Henry down. But Keenan Allen is just an absolute beast. And when you factor in that he's 1,100 less than Antonio Brown, he's my number 1 play at wide receiver where we're sitting right now. Coming down a little bit, AJ Green against Indy, I think, is definitely in play, 7,300. He's behind Keenan Allen and Michael Thomas for me in terms of guys that I want to play, but that just means that he's a better tournament play, because if he's going to be less owned, he definitely has multiple touchdown potential. In a game against a team, Indianapolis, that gave up chunks of yards to wide receivers down the field, one of the worst teams in terms of defending the long ball, passes that had more than 15 or 20 air yards. Indy was right there with Tampa Bay as two of the worst teams in the league last year. AJ Green can still get deep and is going to get a large chunk of the red zone looks. Teams aren't going to be able to double him as much in the red zone with Tyler Eifert being healthy. At least right now he's healthy, which to me opens up a lot more space for somebody like AJ Green. Good tournament play. Odell Beckham Jr., as good as it gets, but I don't know if I want to roster him against Jacksonville in week 1. I'm going to take a pass there. I just, I'm an Art of War guy. If you haven't watched these videos before, if you haven't seen, my philosophy, I don't want to bang my head against a brick wall. I don't. Doesn't sound like something that's a lot of fun. So I'll choose to walk through the wide open door. I'm going to take players against a bad cornerback. I'm going to take players that are in situations that are, more beneficial to scoring fantasy points. And lining up across from AJ Bouye or lining up across from Jalen Ramsey are not conducive to fantasy scoring. And you factor in that New York Giants want to run the ball a ton with Saquon Barkley. Jacksonville wants to run the ball a ton with Leonard Fournette. This could be a very slow-paced game, a grinded-out game. Now, sure, as we've said a million times on the edge, Odell Beckham can take a 6-yard slant, turn it upfield for a 60-yard touchdown, showing the defenders his heels and elbows all the way. That is definitely in play. If you want to take the chance and take this wide receiver who is typically going to be an $8,000 wide receiver on DraftKings this year and roster him in GPPs because you know that his ownership's going to be down, then go for it. Know that he's going to come at a lower ownership. Know that he does have the ability to just catch one and take it a long way. But his efficiency should be way down this week. I don't see it as a spot that I want to go after. If you look at his prices from last year, 85, 89, 86, 8,000, DraftKings being very aggressive in pricing down players in terrible matchups. So he's all the way down at 7,000. You probably won't see him at 7,000 the rest of the season. So if you want to take that salary relief against a bad matchup and embrace the variance, albeit against a lower ownership percentage in tournaments for week 1, it makes sense. And I like the push and pull there. I love what DraftKings did in terms of that. Don't make him 8,000 where he's just completely off the board. Put him in a position where now you can make a decision. I understand that he's up against a bad defense. I understand, or a tough defense. I understand that he's going to be somebody that is probably going to be lower owned, but they're trying to entice you to take him at 7,000 and embrace that variance so that everybody's not on one guy. So I like what they did here in terms of the pricing. Now here we get into a little bit more, not baseline value. Your average salary per player is $5,500. If you throw in like a 3K defense or so, your average price per player is going to be about $5,800, right? So these guys are still above the average price player when you're in this range, but you're getting into some real value here with Adam Thielen, T.Y. Hilton with Andrew Luck back. Mike Evans should see a lot of usage, though, again, it's kind of a tough matchup with Lattimore across from him. Larry Fitzgerald pops as a really good spot, but you look at the usage. This is my concern with Larry Fitzgerald, and it's not his age. Okay, everybody's concerned with Larry Fitzgerald's age. I'm not as concerned with his age here. That's not what I'm talking about. My concern here with Larry Fitzgerald is that we saw his usage just go completely bonkers last year, right? 15 targets, 10 targets, 11 targets, 14, 10, 10, 10, 15, 13. Massive usage for this guy. DJ wasn't there. I still think he's going to be right there again in terms of, getting a good amount of targets, 7, 8, 9 targets a game. But I don't think we're going to see the 12, 13s, 15s. So he's not a guy who's as, I don't want to say a sure thing, right? Because nobody is. But he's not going to get these types of games anymore. These throws are now going to go back to David Johnson, right? DFJ is going to get all those looks. So to me, Fitzgerald is a very good value, but if somebody's doing their projections based on last year's usage, I don't think he sees that in this year's iteration of the Arizona Cardinals offense. So I like Fitzgerald. I think he's popping in a few projections machines. I think that they're probably going to be manually edited down by the time week 1 gets here. So pay attention and see what happens to him in whatever projections you like to use. Adam Thielen, somebody that I just mentioned, absolutely great matchup here against San Francisco. Look, I talked on the quarterbacks video about how good Kirk Cousins' skill set matches with the tools that they have in Minnesota. Thielen at 6,900 with his skill set, the amount of routes that he ran from the slot, his ability on deep balls, his contested catch rate, all fit very well with Kirk Cousins. His teammate, the American hero, Stefon Diggs, same idea. Game log wiped for whatever reason. One of the best receivers on deep balls last year, and then you have a guy over the last 3 years in Kirk Cousins who was top 3 in the league in terms of deep ball efficiency for a quarterback. Stefon Diggs, 6,300 against San Francisco is one of the worst teams in the league defensively last year. They should take a step forward, but even if they increase by 20%, they're still at best a middling defense. So this is a great spot for Stefon Diggs at a cheap price. Mike Evans should get a ton of targets. Tyreek Hill, boomer bust. Chat, what do you guys think? I'm not really a huge fan of Tyreek Hill in this game in terms of cash. Not somebody that I'm looking to go after in cash. Always a tournament play because he can always bust a 50-yard touchdown. But I want to be sure what his ownership's going to be. I want to know how he's going to mesh for the rest of the preseason with Patrick Mahomes. Alex Smith, one of the best deep ball throwers in the league last year based on efficiency, does not mean he's going to remain that way this year with a new quarterback. Although I love Mahomes' talent, I love his arm talent, I love his ability to get the ball deep. We'll see if Tyreek Hill can repeat the best year ever in terms of deep throws. He scored more touchdowns, more long touchdowns than any wide receiver has ever scored in one season. Is that going to repeat 2 years in a row? Considering that nobody had ever done what Tyreek Hill did last year. And you can tell me how great Tyreek Hill is as a deep threat. I agree. He's a great deep threat. One of the best of all time. He also has a lot of great complementary weapons around him in this offense. People have to worry about Kareem Hunt. They have to worry about Travis Kelce. But are you telling me he's going to get 8 touchdown passes that are that long again? 52-yard reception in this game, 64 in this game, 44 in this game, 79 in this game, 38 in this game, 56 in this game, 64 in this game. Inconceivable to think that he's going to be able to repeat that many long touchdowns year over year when it had never happened before. He's due for some regression in that category. He's still going to be a great deep threat. I'm not sure I'm expecting as many deep balls to complete for touchdowns this year as he got last year, though he is going to open up things underneath a lot more, in my opinion, for Travis Kelce, Sammy Watkins, and Kareem Hunt. Coming down a little bit more, Doug Baldwin should see a ton of targets, has been priced down aggressively based on the matchup with Denver, but Denver's not going to be the same defense that they used to be. Is Doug Baldwin going to be healthy for week 1 is my only question right now, because that's where we're at. He reiterated Tuesday, Pete Carroll did, that he expects Baldwin to be ready for week 1. We'll see. If he's ready for week 1, I think Baldwin is one of the top plays at wide receiver at 6,200. He's that mid-price guy that you want to pair with a high-price guy, and then you go with one value wide receiver. He fits very well in that role. Or if you want to go with 3 6K wide receivers, that's where a lot of talent is right here on the salary sheet, right? So Doug Baldwin fits very well into that as long as he's healthy. Something you're going to have to monitor on the injury report leading up to week 1. We'll know for sure whether he's going to go or not. But right now, 3 weeks before, we don't. I know what I expect if he's healthy. If he's not healthy, we just scratch him and move on. Chris Hogan. Get used to saying this. Chris Hogan is the wide receiver 1 for the New England Patriots. He's a thing. He's been a thing for 2 years. Last year, we saw less targets. With Edelman out, he's going to see some more looks. He's already led the team in targets through preseason to this point. He's leading the team in terms of targets in practices with the ones. He is a massive red zone target as well. If you have a choice to double Chris Hogan on the outside or double Rob Gronkowski on the inside, which one are you going to bracket? You're going to bracket Gronk, leaving Chris Hogan with one-on-one coverage against somebody who's probably not as big and can't jump as high as he can on the outside, around the goal line, with a quarterback who likes to spread it around. Chris Hogan is my guy. I've been on this dude for a couple of years. His ADP is rising in your season-long league. You think you're going to snatch him in the 6th, 7th, or 8th round. You're just not going to. But people still haven't come around to the fact that Chris Hogan is going to be as involved as he is in the New England Patriots offense. The highest expected team total for week 1. Gronk isn't going to do all the scoring. Rex Burkhead isn't going to run every single touchdown in from the 1-yard line. Chris Hogan is going to be targeted short, mid-range, and deep by maybe the best quarterback of all time, arguably the best quarterback of all time. Maybe the best quarterback this year. We'll find out, but 30 touchdowns plus is not out of the realm for somebody like Tom Brady. And Chris Hogan for week 1 at 6,100 is somebody that I think we need to consider. Josh Gordon, is he going to play or is he not? I don't know. Juju Smith-Schuster against Cleveland, 5,900, I think is a little bit steep for me. Corey Davis might be the number 1 in Tennessee, kind of in wait-and-see mode there. The Denver wide receivers, Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders, 5,700. This is kind of a weird range. Crabtree, one of my favorites at 5,400. One of my favorite guys to root for, I guess. Not my favorite wide receiver in week 1. I think he's going to be a lot more involved in this Baltimore offense and he's going to fly under the radar because people just don't like rostering Michael Crabtree. They don't think he has massive upside. They forget this week. They forget this week from last year. The guy is a great red zone target. He boxes out very well, uses his body, great on contested catches, and has a quarterback, at least against Buffalo, that should be able to complete some passes to him, no matter what you think of Joe Flacco. Is he elite? Is he not? I don't care. Can he get the ball to Michael Crabtree? I kind of think that he can. DJ MK, thank you very much for the Twitch Prime sub. Jarvis Landry right now with Josh Gordon, I think he'll be ready for week 1, but who knows? If he's not, Landry is in play with Gordon there. Without Gordon there, I think Jarvis Landry becomes a great target. We've already seen that he's not just a guy that operates within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. Jarvis Landry can get deep. I think that the move in quarterback from going from Miami and Tannehill and all of the cast of thousands that were at quarterback there, going to Tyrod Taylor in Cleveland and all of the weapons that are around them in this Browns offense, I think Jarvis Landry is going to run free and run in one-on-one coverage very often. He's going to get some easy targets around the line of scrimmage. He can get open. He gets separation, which is something you need to have when you're playing with Tyrod Taylor, is he doesn't want to throw somebody open. That's the book on Tyrod Taylor, right? Is that he doesn't want to throw a wide receiver open. He needs to see that you're open before he throws it. Jarvis Landry has a great ability and talent to get separation within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. So if it's a quick hot route or whether it's something that he can just get down the field and be open, Jarvis Landry can create space. And in this offense, I think he's going to see a lot of one-on-one, which is going to allow him to get a good amount of targets, though not as many on a week-to-week basis as he got with Miami, but they're probably going to be higher quality targets than they have been historically, though last year he did score a lot of touchdowns with Miami as his red zone usage bumped. I think that Jarvis Landry is definitely in play at 5,500 for the amount of targets that we should expect him to get. Moving down the list a little bit, Parker, not interested. Talked about Crabtree. Funchess against Dallas, I definitely think is in play. Will Fuller, GPP play only for me, guys. That's it. That's all Will Fuller is to me ever. Okay? I know that everybody thinks about these few games that he did great. And yes, the games without Watson at quarterback, he was just garbage, right? The games with Watson at quarterback, he looked excellent, right? He caught 13 balls in these 4 games. 13. He scored 7 touchdowns on 13 catches. That is not going to stay the same. This is impossible. You either believe that Deshaun Watson is the greatest quarterback of all time and is going to repeat those numbers in perpetuity moving forward, or you think that Will Fuller is the greatest wide receiver of all time who's going to catch 50-yard touchdowns every single game, possibly multiples, on only 2 or 3 catches. He had 2 catches on 3 targets and scored 2 touchdowns. He had 4 catches on 6 targets and scored 2 touchdowns. He had 5 catches on 8 targets, scored 2 touchdowns. Now this game I'm more okay with. If he's going to get 8 targets, great. But he doesn't. He got 8 targets twice last year. He got more than 6 just those 2 times. Will Fuller is a GPP play only. Say that with me. Because if you're going to play him in cash every single week, you're setting yourself up for a lot of these type games. And every once in a while, you'll bink one of these. But there's more of these than there are of these. Love the talent, like the system, think Watson is a great quarterback due for some regression, but even if he regresses 20 or 25%, he's still going to be one of the top 2 or 3 quarterback scorers on the year if he can stay healthy. But there's no way that Will Fuller replicates this 4-game stretch on an every week basis. So don't look at that split and say, in games with Deshaun Watson, Will Fuller is the greatest wide receiver of all time, because that's not going to keep up. Let somebody else fall for that every week. Definitely have some allocation of him in tournaments, though, because that 30-point ceiling is there. But he's not somebody that you're just going to rely on for the sake of relying on him. San Francisco against Minnesota, I'm probably not going to play a ton of these guys. I, again, don't like to bang my head up against a brick wall. I'm probably going to fade San Francisco's passing game, probably going to fade their wide receivers and running backs in this game. Not a situation that I want to attack Pierre Garçon or Goodwin. Not really what I want to do. It's not who I am. If that's why I lose, then so be it. You know, if they have 2 touchdowns with 150 yards on 9 catches against Xavier Rhodes and that Minnesota Vikings defense, fine. But you know that you can't play everybody, and you got to be willing to lose somewhere. I do like that they priced them down. I do like Goodwin's. The reports out of San Francisco camp are that Goodwin is clearly the number 1 wide receiver for Jimmy Garoppolo and the San Francisco 49ers offense. They have a good rapport, good locker room connection. They've worked for over a season together. They've had practice in an offseason to work together. Goodwin showed that he is actually legit good last year and not just a sprinter who can get deep. He is still that, but he's so much more. But I'm going to avoid, at least in week 1, especially in cash, and I might not have as much allocation as the field. I love the price at 4,600. I think that that's only there because of the matchup with the Vikings. But I think that there's as good or better options at the same price point or a similar price point. And more will pop up as week 1 gets closer because of injuries that are going to naturally happen due to the nature of the game of football and preseason. So I'd be shocked if I have a large allocation of Marquise Goodwin, but we'll know closer to the season for sure. Somebody that I'm probably going to have less of than other wide receivers that are his price or cheaper. Cam Meredith, 4,400. If he gets the starting gig, if he is the number 1 guy and ready to go opposite Michael Thomas on the other side. I think that Cam Meredith, coming off of an ACL injury last year, if he's eligible to play in week 1 and he's going to play a ton of snaps, I think that he's an outstanding wide receiver. I have a ton of shares of him in season long and best ball. And against Tampa Bay, who allows teams to get deep very often, I think Meredith stacks up well at 4,500 or 4,400 for week 1 in this Saints offense at home in a position where they can stack up points. Talked about Terrell Williams and Mike Williams earlier. Let's do it this way. Let's go Chargers. So we got Terrell the Gazelle, obviously one of my favorites. The hashtag brand always doing well, because anytime he does something, people are demanding that I post a GIF on the Twitter machine of the Gazelles prancing happily through the meadow. He might prance in week 1, but I have to monitor things as preseason goes along to see if he's playing as many snaps with the one in 2 wide receiver sets as Mike Williams. Right now, I don't know. It's a coin flip to me at this point whether Williams or Williams is going to be the guy, whether it's going to be Terrell or whether it's going to be Mike. I would think that it's going to be Terrell Williams, but it might be Mike Williams. If it is Terrell Williams who's playing the most in 2 wide receiver sets with Keenan Allen, or if they go 3 wide all the time and he's always going to be on the field playing 70 or 80% of snaps, I think he's a great tournament play at 4,200 and a better play than somebody like Marquise Goodwin, who is priced a little bit higher. Better matchup. KC is not going to be a very good or dominant defense this year, and I think that you have to consider somebody like Terrell Williams in week 1 if you're looking for value with upside for tournaments on DraftKings. Looking a little bit lower, everybody down here at this point is a dart throw. Everybody lower than this at this point, where we sit on August the 15th, is kind of a dart throw. Because we don't know who's going to be on the field yet for a ton of time. Corey Coleman, is he going to play a ton of snaps? We'll find out. DJ Moore, great talent. I love this kid. And I think he could post numbers, but there are 2 other wide receivers, 3 if you count Christian McCaffrey, that may be ahead of him. Although Moore has great talent, great speed, great ability, there's still a lot of timeshare going on there. Camo Cross with the 14 months in a row. Thank you very
Football
much.
Football can't come soon enough, else Mizogbip.
It can't. Mubot just reads out all the Mubot reads out all the all the emotes in the Twitch chat instead of just not saying them. So Corey Coleman might play a bunch. DJ Moore, again, he's battling Funches, he's battling Greg Olsen, he's battling CMC for targets. So I don't know that he sees more than 4 or 5 targets. So GPP only here for me. Like I said, all these guys are dart throws. Godwin going against New Orleans should see a lot more time this year. James Washington should see a ton of snaps lining up across from Antonio Brown. They have Juju Smith-Schuster playing in the slot with Antonio Brown sometimes playing in the slot, meaning that James Washington's going to line up on the outside and see a lot of snaps. Again, don't think he's going to get more 4 or 5 targets in week 1. Gallup should start as well. John Ross looks like he's going to start against Indy. Probably my favorite one in this price range would be John Ross. Looks like the starter. They got rid of the other wide receivers there in Cincinnati. They spent a lot of draft capital to get this kid last year. Great deep threat. Can't stay healthy in college. Didn't stay healthy last year. Couldn't really get on the field. If he plays 60 or 70% of snaps, the possibility of him getting deep and getting loose against this Indianapolis Colts defense is pretty high, considering how bad they were and inefficient they were on deep throws. They allowed quarterbacks to just lob it over the top, and they couldn't defend it at all. So this game is kind of one of those sneaky shootouts, Cincy versus Indy. It's got a low team total, low overall total, and the totals come down since opening by a full point. But I'd be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if John Ross was able to get loose behind this Indy defense for 1 touchdown, which all of a sudden makes your day, considering that we're looking for, 11 or 12 points? If he catches 1 60-yard touchdown, that's 13 points on 1 reception right there. So big ceiling, and if he's going to start and play in 2 wide receiver sets, you also have a pretty good floor with somebody like this. So of these $3,800, $3,900 to $4,200 receivers, I think that John Ross is probably my favorite. We talked about Tavon Austin, same boat as Gallup. We have to monitor what he does with the ones as far as the preseason goes along, but right now it looks promising that he's playing a ton and getting a good amount of looks for $3,800. Everybody else down here, probably my favorite guy that's left on the list is John Brown. For Baltimore, $3,700. We've seen what he can do on deep throws. Every one of these guys, look at all these guys are boom or bust guys, which is great. I love the pricing for week 1 right now on DraftKings. John Brown, the ability to get deep, has a quarterback that can throw it that way. They got Michael Crabtree to work the short and intermediate routes. They've got a young tight end in Hurst that can do the same. Good stable of running backs. So if they can play action and get it deep, John Brown's going to be the guy that's going to catch the deep ball and be your game breaker at 3,700. So that's it, guys. That's my way too early first look at the wide receivers. If you give me a chance, leave a comment in the YouTube comments down below. Let me know if there's somebody that you think I missed. If you agree or disagree with any of the commentary that I've made so far on this podcast. So, if you haven't already, like the video, subscribe to the channel, click that notifications bell, and I'll be back to you with a tight ends video, and I'm going to do another one. How to build 150 lineups on DraftKings using a lineup builder coming soon enough. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye, guys.